podcasting is great. Like, obviously it's growing up. So a lot of people are turning to brands and say, hey, do you have a podcast? I would love to listen more.
Give the people what they want. Just, I don't know, food for thought. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicholas and Alyssa, and we're here to keep you in the loop on all the things that you can do to promote your podcast. So Alyssa, what are we talking about today?
So it's a new year. So we're going to switch it up a little bit for the sake of this episode. But today we're going to be talking about how to use a podcast to grow your brand. And we're going to be covering a wide range of topics. Of course, it's all going to pertain to podcast marketing and podcast growth, but just a little bit different tone. So kind of, knowing when a podcast is right for your brand and company. We'll also be breaking down the different types of kind of like businessy podcasts. So there's a couple of different terms. So branded podcast versus B2B podcast versus a business podcast, and really just helping you to kind of determine what makes sense for you. And then how to know when it's time to start, as well as some of the pros and cons for podcasting for your business.
Okay, cool. And it sounds like we're kind of focusing on people who might be starting their podcast or just like thinking about getting into the space. But I feel like a lot of this information will also apply to people with a show who may have ramped down last year or may be thinking about whether or not they want to continue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a pretty versatile topic, but, important to talk about nonetheless.
For sure. So I guess let's just get the ball rolling on that, Alyssa, if you will, please.
So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. I'm still on break brain.
Yeah, we're still on holiday time.
Anyways, so getting started. So podcasting's everywhere, but is it right for you? And is it right to continue? So more specifically, is it right for your brand? That's kind of the first big topic that we're going to be talking about. So to start, podcasting is pretty popular. It's kind of everywhere right now. It's not even just like in kind of pop culture, but it's just more like you're seeing it in conversations of just podcasting in general. So it has a very wide reach right now, just as a medium. And specifically with brands, it has high trust and high impact for potential growth opportunity for both the podcast and then, of course, the brand or the company that it's attached to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh no, please, after you.
So I was going to say, so we love our stats. So to back that up, I have a couple of stats to kind of pair with that. But so right now, 55% of the US population has consumed a podcast within the last month. And that is actually a double-digit surge from last year. And that was just pulled from Statista's like general research. So thank you, Julia, for doing all of that amazing work to figure that out. But double-digit surge, I mean, that's insane. So podcast listening is popular, but it's getting more popular. So it's not going away. So if you're thinking about, hey, should I do this or should I continue with it? There's a lot of opportunity out there to kind of back that up that, hey, maybe you might want to continue or stick with it or start anew. And then with that, so, we're talking more to people that have brands or have companies maybe attached to these podcasts. But 76% of listeners have reported buying something because of a podcast. And then with that, podcasting lends the authority with 95% of listeners trusting in that host. And that comes from a lot of research from the wonderful team at Audacity.
Odyssey,
thank you.
Yeah,
again, brain. But anyways, so you can really see that there's a lot of opportunity out there for people to kind of use podcasting to grow their company and then also just keep growing the podcast at the same time.
Yeah. And you see this everywhere. Like you said it, podcasting is quite literally everywhere you go nowadays. The big example that I've been using lately is Apple TV had a show called Pluribus come out last year. Awesome show. And the beginning of every episode literally starts with, hey, when you're done watching this, go watch or listen to the Pluribus podcast. So yeah, you can't get away from it. And the fact that like more than half of the US's population consumed a podcast, it sounds like, I don't know, to put a number to that, there's like how many millions of people in this country, right? We're talking about half of whatever the US's population is, which is astronomically large, maybe 300 million people. So maybe like, I don't know, 150 to 200 million people listened to a podcast last month. And just despite that, it's also the fact that like, because there are so many podcasts out there and because everyone has a podcast, your audience is going to you because they are hyper interested in what you have to say already. I'm sure there's something about like niche audiences and everyone having something made tailor made for them. And it's a great thing that you can be in and you can contribute to.
Yeah. And especially if you have a business or a brand and it's a little bit more niche, like, maybe you help podcasters market their podcast and grow their podcast. That's kind of niche, right?
Sounds like a great show.
It sounds solid. Anyways, so if you have a very specific niche and you solve a problem for a specific group of people, the loyalty that comes with that is incredible. I mean, there's not typically a ton of competition for that space. So if you're thinking like, oh, is this even worth doing it? Like, is it going to help? Like, if you're thinking about kind of your niche and the problems that you solve, that's great. There's definitely people out there, obviously. Especially if you're a company and you're growing and you're seeing that, that there's some type of audience out there that would find value in this. But then to start a podcast kind of increases and lends that authority to kind of back up everything that you're doing to really both grow the brand presence and then engage in your audience, and just really honing in on your audience and the whys and just making them feel seen, heard, and valued.
Yeah, for sure. It's exactly what you've described. And on top of that, like to the point of like there being a lot of podcasts and maybe you're answering a specific type of question or offering a specific type of service that other people do, it's bringing your own voice to it in a way that is like hyper specific to that audience you're getting. Another podcast might exist where they're helping people promote their podcast and grow their show, but are they hosted by Nick and Alyssa with that like devilishly amazing banter of theirs?
And bad puns. You can't forget the puns.
The puns are half of the reason why people listen to this, I'm sure.
Exactly. That's why I listen to it. Duh.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to learn and grow.
Yeah, learning and growing. It's kind of like PBS where learning and growing is great and wonderful, but it's like kind of auxiliary. I just want to watch Arthur, guys. Anyway, on that note, Alyssa, why don't you tell me a bit about the types of podcasts out there?
Yeah, so of course, there's a bunch of different types of podcasts. And when we're kind of going into this idea of the branded podcast, the B2B podcast, you want to be able to really understand what your goals are with your audience, and that's going to kind of inform the structure of the podcast. So the different types is going to be branded podcasts, and those are going to be podcasts with a little bit more kind of aspirational type goals. They're a little bit harder to track in terms of metrics just because it's more of kind of what we call marketing like a brand awareness play. You're trying to grow the company. You're trying to engage your audience. You're not actively trying to sell people on your business or a specific product. You're really honestly just trying to educate, grow the brand, and then really kind of build out your audience. And with that, you're not necessarily tracking listeners or followers. You're looking at things more like engagement. Are people sticking around? Are people coming back to the show? Are people, following on social media? Are people commenting? So kind of more of things that are harder to track that, is marketing stuff. That's what I do every day. And it's kind of hard to think, okay, is this really growing my brand? Is this really helping me? But you can normally see that and kind of see like, okay, you get those more signals of like, hey, are people interacting with me more? Are people talking to me more? That's usually when you can kind of start to see like, hey, this is growing. Obviously, you're still looking at things like your metrics, like your listeners and your followers and your downloads, but it's not necessarily kind of that primary thing that you normally think of when it comes to podcast growth. It's a little bit more, you're using the podcast to help your brand. They grow together, but it's just a little bit different than when you're thinking about like a podcast,
driving
like
sales or subscription. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's public awareness.
Exactly. Like, for example, we kind of said it before. This is a branded podcast. Yes, we have products. Yes, we have services. Ideally, we would love for, the world to just say, oh my gosh, Headliner's the best. We want to be subscribers. We are a business. We do think about money, but we're not actively trying to use this podcast to sell you on a product. Yes, we'll update you. Yes, we'll tell you about stuff, but that's not the primary goal. We're legitimately trying to help podcasters grow their audience. If Headliner is a solution that fits within that, amazing. but this is more of just kind of positioning Headliner, that beautiful purple gradient smiley face, as a friend to podcasting. Other examples out there, the Trader Joe's podcast. I mean, it talks, yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome. It's like one of the most.
No, Trader Joe's had a podcast.
It's great. It's great. So Trader Joe's podcast plug for you out there. They'll mention products that they have. Like they had one about wine, and it was more like how to find the wine that's right for you, like the pairings of wine. And of course they were like, oh, I had like a bar of chocolate and I had this Merlot. Like that was the pairing. And they mentioned this specific wine that you can buy at Trader Joe's, but they're legitimately not trying to sell you on buying that wine. It's just like, hey.
It's not like the used car salesman, like, come on down to Trader Joe's and put down, put down a loan on getting some Merlot or whatever. It's very much like, yeah, this Merlot is really good. I happened to have bought it at Trader Joe's, but,
Exactly. It's really just trying to empower the actual consumer and the listener to make an educated decision for themselves. Any sales that come of that are just really an added bonus.
We love brands that respect the audience. Perfect. It's just wonderful. Okay. What other types of podcasts have we got here?
So yeah, on the other side of the coin, there's more of kind of what is called like the B2B or the B2C podcast. So that's where they're actively trying to sell you on something. Yes, of course, they have a podcast that's related to the branded company. So it still is helping to grow them and engage the audience, but they're a little bit more internally motivated where they're trying to sell you on something. So you'll see this a lot with like financial services type stuff. So people are like educating you on that. And then they're like, hey, this is what I do. This is, they'll just more or less try and drum up business through the podcast. It's great. You probably have a high authority. You're likely an expert if you have a company that revolves around something entirely.
Sure.
And the podcast really helps to kind of build that authority for you to then convert your listeners into paying customers or subscribers, what have you. So that's really more like a B2B, B2C type podcast. B2B, more like business to business. B2C, more like product-y type stuff. So like if you're a blanket company and you're like, hey, these are blankets. That's a horrible example. That's what I mean. Like a tangible good.
I almost said it's a great blanket. I would hope that the blanket themed podcast from the blanket company sells good blankets. No, it's a great example. Like it is, you could almost see somebody doing like an episode on the types of blankets one might use in the winter, right? And it feels like a normal branded podcast for most of it. But the thing that pushes it over to B2B or B2C is at the very end, we here at Blankets R Us sell a microfiber cotton blend blanket that is only 5%, synthetic or whatever. And that's where it automatically becomes B2C because it's like, oh, they're selling me this blanket.
Exactly. And to kind of break it down, I wouldn't say that I'm, an expert in this, but I did Google and research experts in this area.
Nice.
So the Podglomerate, they came up. There's an amazing quote. I'm just going to go ahead and read it to really kind of better define that line between branded and B2B. So it's, a little bit more clear than me just, hey, this is what it is. We're
just not vibe podcasting now. We're actually citing information. Amazing.
We are. New year, new us, man.
Yeah.
So branded podcasts are sometimes confused with B2B podcasts. Although they share the same origin, their purposes often diverge. While branded podcasts have numerous purposes, such as building community, increasing brand awareness, and increasing product sales, B2B podcasts are designed to sell services to other businesses or customers by establishing authority in a competitive area. So hopefully that was a little bit more clear. I thought it laid it out very nicely. Do with that information what you will.
Yes, and do shop at Blankets R Us. Use the promo code Don't Get Pneumonia on your first, whatever I said it was, cotton synthetic blend blanket or whatever.
Sounds like a TJ Maxx special in the making.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so are there any other things that we should teach our wonderful audience about as far as like podcasting and the types of podcasts go?
Yeah, so I mean, you can definitely, this is a pretty popular time of year for people to start podcast or restart their podcast. So maybe talk about how to know when it's time to do that for you or your brand or your podcast. So really, my simple answer is whenever is right for you. That's just because this is a popular time of year to do it doesn't mean that it works for you. You want to do this intentionally and thoughtfully. You don't want to rush through it. So kind of, thinking about things like planning, scheduling, all of that can really help to kind of determine when it's right for you. And if it makes sense for you, of course, like that's, kind of the first part of that. But the second part of it is when to start.
Yeah. And I mean, really take your time with it. Get your reps in. If you're new to talking on a microphone, it's harder than it looks, especially if you have like other people at your business or your practice or whatever that are getting involved. Do a practice run. Do 2 of them if you want, get comfortable doing it and try to build up a couple of episodes before you put them out because, this stuff thrives on consistency, and just building up that lead while you can is wonderful.
Yeah. And then kind of another signal. So say you're like, okay, we can do this as a team. We've got this. And then maybe you're like, okay, I know I can do that, but you're still not quite sure. Another way to know, hey, maybe it's time to start that podcast is if your audience for your brand or your company is kind of stagnant. Like maybe you've been producing the same type of content. You've reached kind of a plateau, a growth plateau, if you will. So starting a podcast is a great way to kind of inject new audiences or to engage people that have kind of they just scroll past you at this point. Like they're like, oh, I've seen that 1,000 times from them. It's in one ear, out the other, not even looking at it. So, but you're scrolling and you see like, oh, new podcast, or hey, maybe you see 2 awesome people talking about really awesome things like podcast growth and marketing from a podcasting company, and blankets, of course. And wine, just random, we're clearly in the comfy things here.
This is clearly like still holiday brand. We're talking about blankets and wine and Trader Joe's.
We're trying our best here, guys. But anyway, so that's a great way to kind of literally start cutting through the noise and getting people's eyes, whether they're new or just re-engaging people, to really kind of define if that's, right for you and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that end, Alyssa, I mean, I think we actually talked about it, or we will talk about it. Getting into podcasting is great for injecting some new life into your brand because it's such a reformatable format. You could break segments from your podcast if you do it on video and put it on YouTube as a video. You could just release the episode on different formats. You could do audiograms, all that stuff, transcripts, blog posts, all of that sourced from one piece of content. So it is a great way to just kind of shake up your marketing strategy, make your newsletter stand out a little bit, because now it's not just linking people to text, it's linking them to audio or video, etc.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting, it's a storytelling medium, so it's naturally a little bit more engaging. So something to think about. And then kind of other ways to know, hey, is it maybe time to start a podcast? One of the biggest signals is if people are asking for it. Believe it or not, people do that. They're like, oh my gosh, I love this blog, or I love kind of the thought process behind like all of this content. I just don't have time to sit there and read it. I don't want to be attuned to looking on my phone and trying to find like when new content's coming out. Podcasting is great. Like obviously it's growing up. Like people are listening to it more and more. So a lot of people are turning to brands and say, hey, I would do you have a podcast? I would love to listen more. That type of stuff. Obviously a really great signal.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that. First off, give the people what they want. Who knew? Second, that's the reason we're here right now. It's because we were at a conference years and years and years ago, and everyone kept going up to us at our booth and going, you don't have a podcast. So yeah, here we are. We have a podcast quite literally because people asked for it. Just, I don't know, food for thought.
Tangible examples we'd love to see. And then maybe say you're not at a conference and you don't have people coming up to you, but you're kind of
pestering you about a podcast. Yeah.
Right. You're not sure. Ask. Wild concept. You know that you have an audience if you have a brand or a business. So literally ask people like, hey, we're thinking about starting a podcast. Obviously kind of knowing there's a lot of time that goes into it. Or even if you've had a podcast in the past, like, are you going to restart it? Headliner's also done this.
Yep.
Just ask people, say, hey, what would you like to hear from us? Would this be something you're interested in? And then you can kind of go from there. And, we would like to think that everybody's going to say, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to hear you talk about this. I would love for you to have a podcast about it. So it's all rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. And look, cheat code alert, asking on your Facebook page or your Instagram page for your brand, etc., that is a way of getting engagement. Those polls themselves do encourage more engagement. So just a little bit of a, pro tip, cheat code, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Alyssa, as we ramp things down, do you want to share some of the quick pros and cons of podcasting? Like, we've explained why, but let's talk about the actual medium itself and what it brings to the table.
Sure. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with the cons.
Totally.
Nicholas, you can definitely speak to this.
Because I'm a negative Nancy.
A lot.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, please continue.
Sure. Okay. Anyways, I was going to say the time factor that goes into it. You've got to get on these calls like we are now and talk to each other. And that can take some time to schedule out because sometimes people forget things and then you have to move and send requests. It's a whole thing. I'm sorry. I'm not the best.
No. You're great at this. Especially when you're a brand and everyone's doing 50 things at once. It can be hard to go, hey, let's cut out an hour of time to talk. It's just being realistic. That takes time and that can be very frustrating.
And then more where I was getting into this for you specifically is the editing stuff, because I plan and I get on and I talk and then I say, hey, here's the audio file. Do with this what you will. And that takes a lot of time. I know that takes a lot of time. And I'm so grateful for you for doing that.
Well, it's first off, I love doing it, so I'm happy to. Second, anytime someone hands me something and they're like, you creative person, go be creative, go to the basement of the theater like you're the Phantom of the Opera and put this together. I'm all over it. But yeah, it does take time. If you have a 1 hour podcast, editing just the audio could take 2 to 3 hours. That's video. You're looking at 6 to 9 maybe. And yeah, it takes time. You got to plan for that and you got to remember to try and do that consistently.
And we're not trying to deter you. We're just trying to prepare you. So
we're keeping it real with you.
Keep in mind here. If you're new to podcasting or if you've been out of the game for a while, there can be a bit of a learning curve. Softwares change. Also just learning how to talk onto a mic. There's a lot of lovely things that Nicholas has taught me, like distance and wearing headphones and putting your blinds, shutting them, all sorts of things. There's just little things that you kind of learn along the way that can take some time to, especially if you're trying to restart or hone in on kind of what you're going to even talk about in the first place. There's that. Podcasting, it's not necessarily a new format. It has been around for a little bit. So there's a lot of competition out there. So I think this isn't active podcast, but this is podcast in totality. I think there's over 400 million podcasts out there now.
Sure. I believe it.
I'm pretty sure I'm right in that because I remember reading it. It's that seems excessive.
You're saying it a lot more confidently than my stat about there being 300 million Americans. So, I'll believe you.
Yeah. Google it. Spotify is the one that came out with that number. So it might be 40, but I'm pretty sure it's 400. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff out there. So just know, hey, it might take some time for you to literally cut through and start finding your audience and growing with them. And then last thing, especially if you're starting a branded podcast, it can be really hard to track engaged success and feel like, hey, this thing that I'm doing is worthwhile. It takes time to figure out what you're even looking for to determine if you're growing and if this is worth it. But then you unfortunately have to go in and actually quantify everything. And now you've got to go to different platforms and pull numbers and then make the spreadsheet and then combine the spreadsheet and then make a pivot table and then say, I'm growing. But now for the fun things, the sunshine and rainbows that we all love, the pros of podcasting. So first thing, podcasting is really good for brands. It has among some of the highest ROI. So HubSpot, they just released a study kind of at the end of the year, and it was talking to marketers, talking to brands, asking them about kind of their content strategy, what they do to help grow their brand. Podcast ranked number 4 as the content type with the highest returns on investment. So yes, it takes a lot of time. Don't get us wrong, but the return is there. People are seeing it. Professionals are investing more into it. More large scale brands are like, hey, if they don't have a podcast, they're like, hey, we should probably do this. The return's there. And then kind of a side note, the number 1 spot you may ask was short form video. So
really?
yeah. So we talked about content repurposing stuff. Podcasts are great for that. So you can take your number 4 thing and then turn it into your number 1 thing. And that's 2 things from the top 4 things that have good return on investment for brand growth.
We need that exact quote on a billboard. Like down to you giving like 2 thumbs up. You could take your 2 things and make them into one super successful thing, all of it.
Yeah, it's great. We love it. This is going to be our thumbnail, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. There it is. We have to do the YouTuber posing for the thumbnail. Okay. So
Perfect.
On that note, Alyssa, and forgive me for not knowing the answer to this in advance, might there be some sort of tool perhaps to do that? What's the really earwormy quote that someone may use to turn their audio visual?
Are you talking about Headliner?
Oh, is that what they're called? They're so cool.
Headliner does exist. We work at Headliner. We're a little bit biased in saying, but truthfully, it is a very easy to use tool. Allows you to repurpose your content, your podcast content, into a bunch of different things. So if you've got audio, we can help you make audiograms. Audiograms literally just take your audio, make it into video. So you branded video because we're branded podcast. So then you can share it out to the world, help grow your podcast. Really awesome, super easy tools. If you're doing video, we've got solutions for you. You can make branded video clips as well. Same concept, share them out, make your podcast pop, and then also grow your brand.
Yeah, exactly. If making a podcast is like baking a cake, consider Headliner like the sprinkles on top of it, aka the part that everyone likes. No one ever says no to sprinkles. Just saying.
Duh. But yeah.
Maybe diabetics. The only people that would say no to sprinkles.
They're sugar-free. They're sugar-free sprinkles.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Headliner's like sprinkles, comma, also sugar-free sprinkles.
Yes. We've got something for everybody, guys.
There you go.
So outside of really good return on investment, ample opportunity. So podcasting, like we said, you can chop it up and use it 1,000 different ways. You can make blog posts. There's more things than blog post and video, but that's just where my brain stopped.
Well, those are the big ones. I mean, someone just told me that the number 1 spot for content types with the highest return on investment was video. So
pretty important. Lots of things. Yeah. Lots of things you can do with podcasting. So there's ton of opportunity out there to really help you grow your brand through your podcast. We also mentioned they're super popular right now. And podcasting, again, it's a natural storytelling medium. So it's really engaging. You see people listen to your podcast, come back to it, stick with you, stick with your brand, all sorts of awesome stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the perfect medium for the attention economy if you think about it, because you take a video podcast and let's say I'm doing something else, I'm going to be second screening that podcast. It's something that I can listen to while I do something else. If I need to look over at my screen, it's right there. It's perfect. If I'm on the go and I'm on TikTok or Instagram Reels, I'm getting clips from that podcast. There's no escaping it.
Yeah. But that's all I've got. Really.
I mean, that's a lot. So, it's a lot to chew on. So hopefully everyone who checked this episode out, they walk away from it feeling good about the idea of making or continuing a podcast.
Or restarting if you stop.
Exactly. Hit the reboot button, So on that note, thank you to everyone for listening. We'll be back in the near future with more episodes to help you grow and promote your podcast. And have a good one.